It said it's now live.
And there's participants coming in as we speak.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Welcome, 8th grade parents. As you're coming in, we'll wait a couple minutes. Wow, we're almost to 100. That's impressive.
I know, it's awesome.
It's closed is what she's saying.
The form.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, well, we've been sitting at 108, so I think we'll get started just with introductions. My name is Christy Doyle. I am one of the 4 counselors at Dexter High School. I counsel students whose last names begin L through R.
I'm Brandy Jacobs. I'm one of the 4 counselors at Dexter High School. I counsel students with last names A through E.
I am Karen Wagner and I am S through Z for your guys' grade level.
And Mrs. Morell is unfortunately, she had an injury and will not be able to join us this evening, but she counsels students F through K, correct, ladies? That's okay.
Yep.
Alphabet's hard. So there are the 4 counselors at the high school. We had the pleasure of meeting with your 8th grade students today. So we actually went into Mill Creek. We discussed the scheduling process with your students. And this year, and it went extremely well, the 8th grade teachers were very excited. We actually got into our new program, Zello, and students began selecting courses for next year. Now, we of course told them, do not hit submit. You need to go home and talk with your parents and talk with your teachers. But as Ms. Wagner will bring up in a moment, there are some core 9th grade classes that all 9th graders take. So we had them select those classes as a way to practice with the system because all 9th graders will be in those.
It's coming.
It's coming, yes. So we'll share, this is the sheet that was given to your 8th graders. We will also, in case they've lost it, which we know is a thing, we have a link in Zello, the platform we will once again explain and show you how to get to. And your student obviously has gotten in there today and will be able to show you some of their selections that they made. But all freshmen will take English 9. So we had them register for that today. Math, however, we told your student to please, before selecting a math course, to get the recommendation of their current 8th grade math teacher. Options for 8th graders could be pre-algebra, algebra 9, geometry, advanced geometry, or advanced algebra 2. Just kind of a side note, and we did discuss this with your students. Obviously, this is nationwide, that this situation is happening with math in particular. We know that learning math online through the pandemic was difficult. So we strongly encourage students that if their math teacher, for example, if they are in algebra 9 or algebra this year, but their teacher is recommending they repeat it, we completely agree with that because we see that students are, there are gaps. They are missing some content sometimes, and repeating that would be extremely helpful because algebra is the foundation for success for their next 4 years in math courses. For graduation, students need to take Algebra 9, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then a 4th credit of math. So once again, as you can see, Algebra 2 is often one of the more difficult math courses for students. So that is why it is very critical that they have a solid foundation in algebra before continuing. The other thing that we told students is if they go against a teacher recommendation, unfortunately, if they come to us in November because they're doing poorly in the math course that they're in, we at that time, unfortunately, cannot make a schedule change. So they have to stay in that math course until the end of the semester. And then at semester, we can obviously make a change in the math course.
And
So
that's
it is
only
critical.
if they go against their teacher recommendation. So the parent and student would have to sign a math waiver saying that they understand what the recommendation was from their teacher. However, they are choosing a higher level math course. And if for some reason they don't do well, they have to wait until semester 1 is over until they can make that change, regardless of the grade in that course. And we hate that, but that's the only way we can have them do the next math course and not mess up the other courses or their classes.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jacobs.
Yep.
So science, all 9th graders will take biology. So you will see that your student registered for that today. Social studies, the course selection for 9th graders is American history. That is the class that is paired with English 9. So that's, a team teaching approach. So it's usually in a classroom where the wall opens up and the 2 teachers sometimes will combine their lessons. The next thing we talked to your students about was world language. So students at the high school have an option of Spanish or French, and the graduation requirement for high school is that students must have 2 years of a consecutive foreign language. So they need to select one of those. Some of your students may already be in a language course this year. And so therefore we told them talk with your current world language teacher and get their recommendation if you should move on to the second year or if they are recommending that they repeat the first year of that language. So, one question that came up, we are seeing students who are wanting to fulfill their world language requirement with American Sign Language. That is an option for students. However, we had a great discussion about taking a high school online course and that there is no Dexter teacher tied to that American Sign Language course. So it is up to the student to communicate with their online teacher. But as we know, online is not for all students. And so we talked to them about, the qualities an online learner should have, such as being self-motivated, a self-starter, being able to keep track of time management and assignments, because, we told them there will be no Dexter teacher saying, hey, you've got to turn this assignment in, or this is due then, or this test. It is truly something that your student has to keep track of. So we wanted to make them aware that it is, a serious commitment. So what we did, I'm going to skip the to register part for a moment, but if you go to the graduation requirements, you will see the graduation requirements for high school. Obviously, students will go above and beyond this, but this is the core graduation requirements. 4 credits of English, and that will be English 9, 10th grade. They will have their standard World Lit and Comp, World Lit and Speech, and then they can begin choosing AP IB courses in 11th and 12th grade, maybe in, different categories, graduation requirements. We did talk to your students briefly. We had a few of them ask about AP courses. We explained that those most likely will start for them in 11th and 12th grade. The IB program and IB classes are prohibited until you are an 11th or 12th grader. AP courses, we sometimes have a handful of 10th graders take AP English or AP Gov their sophomore year with teacher recommendation. And of course, a discussion with parents and students, whether this is appropriate. And, we want to make sure a student is ready for those types of courses and can be successful. But we did talk briefly about that, but we didn't want to get into it too much because that's something we will discuss with them in 9th grade also during the scheduling process next year. So you'll see 4 credits of math, 3 credits of science, 3 credits of social studies, the 2 credits of world language. The PE course, the physical education course is different than health. Health is in a classroom. There is no physical activity in that course, so to speak. It truly is learning about, nutrition and health and overall well-being. The physical education credit is your traditional PE gym course, and the 3 courses that count towards that required PE requirement are yoga, strength and conditioning, and lifetime fitness. And we had them write that down so they knew what to choose. Now we do have other gym courses, but those would just be fun elective courses that they can of course take. If they love gym, they can take multiple gym courses. And then, of course, there's 1 credit of visual, performing, and applied arts. That we talk to your students if they are in band, choir, or orchestra, and if they're planning on continuing that next year, then that would fulfill their visual performing arts credit. But as we know, most students that are in band, choir, orchestra will continue possibly for 4 years. So they might end up with 4 credits of visual performing and applied arts. Also, we let your students know that at this point, they may not know 100% what band, choir, orchestra they will audition into. And we told them just, do your best to select what you think you would audition into. And once auditions take place, those teachers will send us a list of where to place students. So if your student selects the wrong band or choir, we will adjust it. They don't need to email us. We will go ahead once we get that list from those teachers and we will adjust that.
One thing I would like to add to that, the physical education classes can be taken multiple times, the yoga and the strength and conditioning for performance classes. They have ITS, which is one of the PE classes, but it doesn't count towards their required PE credit. So they could take it if they wanted to. Like Ms. Doyle said, it would just be for overall credit, not towards their graduation requirements. But those are classes that they could take multiple times. For example, my son took it every single semester he was here at Dexter High School. So he took it all 3 years he was here. That was just a way that he was able to take the class without having to come really early in the morning or really late after school to get in his workout. So, and the other part to that is the math. The same thing will happen as it would for your music. We will get a list from the teachers with the recommendation in the spring for where they are placed for their math course. And if it doesn't match what they've registered for, we will make that change on our end. They do not need to email us about where their new placement is. We will see that on the recommendation list.
So a few questions have popped up as you ladies were talking, and yes, you will have access to this document right on Zello. So you can print it at home. If your student has lost their copy, they all got copies today. If they were there, if they're absent for some reason, that's where we will show you here in a little bit how to access Zello and that information. So that is our first one.
And the graduation requirement sheet should be there as well.
Yep.
The full graduation list of exactly what social studies classes, what math classes, if they're very specific. So that's there as well.
Yep.
So I wanted to jump in and introduce our principal, Mrs. Melanie Nowak. And so she is also here if there's questions that parents may have. We also did explain to your students about block scheduling. So the high school has moved to block scheduling this year. We went over that with your students and explained that they will have 4 classes on A day and then a different 4 classes on B day. So they will have a total of 8 classes in a semester, which means that throughout the school year, they will have 16 classes. And so we had them, and once you'll see, we'll go into Zello and show you that we just told the students count boxes. You should have 16 boxes before you submit. Once you have your 16 boxes, go ahead and hit that submit button.
If your student, so one of the questions is, can we do an online German class as well? So if you are wanting something other than the Spanish or French that we have in our building, talking with your counselor regarding that, and there is a specific online form and an enrollment difference there. So just make sure that you touch base with your counselor that we'd like to do German. You still probably need that placeholder in order for us to kind of have a count, and we can change that later.
The other thing is, one of the things coming down from the state of Michigan is that any online class that we offer at Dexter High School has to be taught by a Michigan certified teacher. So if we find a Michigan certified teacher that teaches German, they absolutely can make that adjustment to their schedule. Let's say they registered for Spanish, they want to switch it out for German. But if we can't find a Michigan certified teacher, we're not able to offer that online world language course. So it really is important that they talk with their counselor, because we'll do some research. We'll try to find what they're wanting to take, but it doesn't always happen if we can't get a certified Michigan teacher behind it.
Yep. And it does count towards their GPA.
Yes. All
Same
online.
as a Dexter class.
Yep.
Okay, Karen, if we want to pull
Do we have
up
more questions?
Oh, do we have more questions?
We do have a few more in there, but I think we could probably answer it as we talk about the next section.
Okay.
So
So your student, as Mrs. Wagner is pulling this up today, we had them log in. They will go to clever.com and they will use their Dexter email, which will lead them to the Zello button, and they will click on that. And like I said, your students did this today, so they should be able to jump right on and show you how to get on this. And once again, the documents are on Zello. So if they lost the sheet of paper, that is on there. The graduation requirements are on there. The course descriptions are also on there. And Zello also, one nice thing is your student can just click on the actual course. So we have a new class, for example, we're running called Bearing Witness. Students just click on the name and it will come up with the course description. So it is embedded in Zello, which is nice. So they don't have to flip around to different websites to get to the course description.
It's not showing, Karen.
serious.
It's
Hold
not
on.
Just
Sorry.
one sec. So I did see a question while she's doing that in the Q&A that's asking about how a student that will be transferring to Dexter next year gets a Clever account. You can't have a Clever account unless you are enrolled at Dexter High School in Power School. Same thing with a transfer. In order to get that information into Clever, the student has to be enrolled at Dexter, and that typically doesn't happen till the springtime. One thing that you need to know, because a student gets their registration in first doesn't guarantee that they're the first one in line to get the classes they've selected. It's not a first come, first serve basis. So the transfer students, don't worry about not being able to get the courses that you are wanting to have for your freshman year, because you are enrolling in the springtime, and that's when we can put your schedule together. You will be fine. So don't think twice about not being able to do that right now. You will have to wait until you actually have enrollment at Dexter High School. Awesome. Okay.
You
So
guys can see it now?
yep,
We
thank
can.
you. So here
Awesome.
is, so a freshman would pull up. This is what they're going to see. They see 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. This is the main screen that you see. It says, hey, Karen. So it's going to say, hey, your student's name. And this is where you're going to find the links. So under links and resources, you're going to find our course descriptions of all of our classes we offered with the description, what grade it is that you can take it, and how many credits it is. And then the courses the freshmen must take, which was the document we had up earlier, is under that. And then there's also sophomore classes in there. So you can kind of get a quick peek on what you may be looking at. And then there is the graduation.
Some of these are not going to be in the freshman.
Okay.
Because I have access to all grades, it's showing all of them.
Okay. So in this screen, they already went to goals and plans and they clicked on their course planner. And this is where they're going to find where their registration is. So today we got onto the 9th grade and it will say add elective 9th grade. And click the button and every single course comes up that we offer. And so we walked them through how to add English 9, how to add biology for this year, how to add the American history, kind of guide them on potentially what math they might be in. So I told them, if you're in math 8 and you're doing really well, you can add the algebra 9. If you're in algebra 9, not doing so well, you might want to just add it again, or algebra 1, you might just want to add it again. We will make those adjustments in the spring once we get those back from teachers. So don't worry about if it's the right math, if it's not the right math, we make those adjustments later. So if they were to click on the name of the class, they can see a course description of that class. So this one's advanced algebra 2. They read through the course description. They look at any prerequisites that they need before they can take or add this class. And then they would add it if they are meeting that requirement. They can also see on the right-hand side what grades can take the class and how many credits it is as well. So all of that is right at their fingertips. They don't have to go back to the course catalog on the web page and then come back to Zello and add it on. Everything is right here so they can see. So if they click on advanced zoology and they read it and go, oh my gosh, I want to take this, but I can't dissect anything. I pass out when I see blood. They definitely wouldn't want to take that class. Okay. So make sure that if they're unsure about a course that they click and they read about it so they're understanding what that course has to offer.
Now, just piggybacking, some students, obviously, if they're not in band, choir, orchestra, they can take other art courses that will fulfill that requirement. So we do have the course description guide, the entire course description guide under the links and resources in Zello for that particular reason, because some kids were asking, well, does photojournalism count as visual performing arts? They don't know what category that falls under, or what does psychology fall under. So that course catalog that you can download will explain, what courses count in what category.
Karen, can you add a couple courses? And I want to show them how to remove a course.
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect.
Let's do some biology.
So if your student added a course today while they were working in class and they don't want it, we're going to show you how to remove it, and then you can add different courses to the schedule. Perfect. All right. So
I am in 10th grade only because for some reason my 9th grade would not work.
Okay, that's fine. So if they're in their 9th grade selection, you can see in green, those are in their class list. So it's kind of in a holding tank right now until they submit their entire list of 16 classes. So in order to remove, let's say they want to remove digital photography, they click the class, they can go to the far right. Oh, you can do it that way too.
Oh,
yep.
or show
There's a search bar that makes it a whole lot easier.
Yep. And then click where it says show classes, and then it's going to come up and you can click remove. So you can search the individual class like what Miss Wagner just did, or you can just click show all classes, and then it'll show the ones that you haven't added, and it will show the ones you have added, and then it will say remove on there as well. So we'll do it again. So click drama. We're gonna, go to show classes, and then you would remove drama right there. And then it should not be on your class list anymore. Perfect.
So really students were asking, so once they've selected their math, their science, their English, their social studies, a world language, and possibly their band, choir, orchestra, you will see that they have a few selections left. So ninth grade is not very complicated because as we just went through, most of these are predetermined for them that all ninth graders take these courses. So at that point, they will just be choosing electives that they might find interesting. So part of us moving to a block schedule was to help allow students who might be in 4 years of a world language or 4 years of band, choir, orchestra to take some fun electives or to take electives that maybe they wouldn't have been able to under a traditional schedule. So for example, if I had a student who was really interested in pursuing a science career, sometimes they weren't able to take those fun science electives like advanced biology or anatomy because they were taking so many core science courses. So this will hopefully allow them to take some electives that they will enjoy throughout their high school experience.
So there's a couple good questions in our chat. One is, when is the registration deadline? That is a great question. So the students have to submit by next Friday, the 21st, in order to build our master schedule, which will be built days after. So they have to have everything submitted. There are 16 classes by the 21st, which is next Friday.
There was also one, is there a first come, first serve? So if you hit the button tonight, it is not a dire need. So unfortunately, freshmen are the last that we actually touch base on as we work with our senior schedules first, and then we work our way down to the freshman schedules. So really, it is not a dire need to have everything in tonight versus the 21st. So we will get to their schedules, and what you have in there is what we work with.
The computer literally downloads and scrambles them. It's not based on, first, second, third. So.
And so there was a question about, if it's not a first come, first serve basis, how is it selected? So I'm just going to be very honest and blunt. Seniors have precedence over the entire schedule. Juniors, sophomores, freshmen. So the freshmen will obviously filter into the open elective classes because those are probably the ones that everybody's concerned with. But them registering for the electives they want is super important. So if I have 50 kids that sign up for aquatics, I know I at least need 2 classes in the master schedule to do that. That would hopefully guarantee that they would get the electives that they want. So these tallies that we're doing, the requests that they make, super important to build the master schedule with.
So we have a couple in here about alternate electives and what happens if they don't get the classes that they want. So the alternates we are working on actually with Zello, and appreciate that you guys have asked that. We're going to try and work with them to get that fixed in the next couple days. However, if it does not, and something comes up with your student, we advise them to start using their Dexter email and checking that on a regular basis, because we will communicate with your student, their email through that email, and try and get their schedule situated in that manner.
And I mean, we do our best. Obviously, if they don't get one gym course, we may just, place them into another gym course, or if it's an art course, we can kind of see or gauge what their interests are. Then we'll do our best to place them in the most similar course to that fits in their schedule. Because as Ms. Jacobs said, they'll have their core freshman courses. Unfortunately, they will not most likely get every single elective course they want. So we'll have students, we'll try to do a class that is most similar to that as part of the scheduling process.
Okay, there's questions about students with IEPs. So students with IEPs are hand scheduled with me, the counselor, the other counselors, and their TC, so their special education teacher. So they'll get the list of the students and they'll put with a certain TC. Those TCs will sit down with us before we leave for school for summer. And then we will sit down and we will hand schedule their schedule. Based off their IEP, they may have an academic support class that they need to put in there. They may need to be placed in a certain class. That's when we do that. So IEP students will be taken care of by their special education TC. 504 students. The 504 is an icon in Power School. So any teacher that gets a student that has a 504, they will see that in Power School, that icon will show up. 504s are reviewed at the beginning of the year. So coming up from 8th grade to 9th grade, some of those accommodations might need to be adjusted. So you'll get a letter stating, here's the old. Do we need to sit down and reevaluate? Or do you think that this one is what you want to start the freshman year with? You sign off, and then that icon or that 504 plan goes to all of the teachers in a document, but also is in Power School. So that's how the 504s are taken care of and how teachers are aware of the students who use a 504 plan.
So one of the questions is about, is there a class like ILH? And we will have a class next year. It's student support. And oh gosh, I just blanked on the last part of the name. Let me try to find
support and study strategies.
Yes, thank you. Student support and study strategies. So if you think that would be a great class for your student, you can go ahead and select that as one of their electives. And then the other part, and it does count for credit, they will receive a half a credit for that course. The other question is, do freshmen really have to take a foreign language, or can they wait until junior year? Well, they technically, we talked to them today. Most, I would say 95% of our student population takes a foreign language freshman and sophomore year to kind of get it out of the way. Technically, if you don't want them to start a foreign language until junior and senior year, they can. However, what I will tell you is that most students don't love doing that, because that means their junior and senior year, they are most likely with freshman and sophomore students. So they tend not to like that pairing. But technically they could. We also did talk to them, if you're a student or if you had older students, and some kids knew about this, so they must have had brothers or sisters who did the consortium program through Saline High School, which would be welding, auto tech. That's not something they can do until 11th or 12th grade. Most students do it 11th and 12th grade if they participate in the program, but they technically only need 1 credit of a world language, because consortium does count for that second year of a world language. So in 10th grade, they will go on a field trip if they would like over to Saline High School to look at all of those programs. But those programs can count for the second year of a world language, just so that you're aware.
So there is a question about, doesn't Spanish K6 count for credit? So there has been a situation that's come down through the state that has said kids that have had exposure in 6 through 8, if they've had like a quarter here, a quarter there, a semester here, a semester there, that there could be ways to count world language so that they don't have to do the 2 consecutive years. So that's something that you and your counselor would need to sit down and kind of look back through your history and see if that's something that you could potentially do. I know this hasn't been brought up yet, but students have the ability to attend a consortium program, which is more of the hands-on type programming. And we filter that through Saline High School, their junior and senior year. So if they take 1 year of world language and they don't want to take that second year, the consortium program would exempt them out of that second year because of room in the schedule. They wouldn't have room to do all of the cores that Michigan Merit Curriculum says they need to do. So that would be one way to also cover that second year of world language with a consortium program like welding, building trades, auto tech, health sciences, and so on.
So we have a few new students gonna try to come to Dexter. It seems I've got 3 or 4 questions in here. How do we enroll? If you're transferring from another system, how do I get a clever.com account? We're in Lincoln Learning right now. When do we need to register? So to encompass all of those, we are doing new student enrollments in August, so that we can sit down and actually do schedules and whatnot. Once you are have applied, which can be earlier than that. If you're, especially if you are a school of choice person, you have to do your paperwork before April 1, I believe. So watch for that. And when we get that paperwork approval and registration, all the paperwork needed, and you're in the system, that is when you will actually be assigned a clever.com account. So as of right now, you don't have to do this process of the request. What we will do is then schedule you based on that.
So if you are coming from another school, you can contact in the spring, like once you've done the enrollment process, our counseling secretary, Megan Ford, who you can email. She will explain the registration process. And then at that point, we can at least begin a conversation of what your student might be interested in. We might just kind of have it on a piece of paper. And then once they're actually in the system, we can input their courses.
Can a 9th grader take both creative writing 1 and 2? In conjunction with their English 9 class, they can choose that as an elective. So I will just say, having the 8 classes versus the 6 like we've had in the past, kids are really getting overwhelmed with the 8 classes and juggling that. So I would 100% encourage kids to really use their electives as kind of their downtime, because having the 4 cores plus potentially a world language, and then you're adding more core classes in there, it doesn't give them a lot of time to do some of more of those fun electives or like the art or the PE classes that they are also required to do. So I would encourage them. I mean, if language is their thing and they would like to double up on English, absolutely can, because creative writing is an elective. But definitely have them look at those electives closely to see what kind of how a balance they can have with their core classes and their elective classes.
Another question was about, can my student just focus on the mandatory classes and kind of fill up so that they can graduate early, basically? Kind of piggybacking on what Ms. Jacobs said, 8 classes a semester is quite a load, especially for a freshman. So once again, we wouldn't encourage that. Now, I will tell you, there is usually plenty of space senior year, and we have a lot of our juniors and seniors who dual enroll, and that's something we can talk to you about, because dual enrollment is a way that a student can take high school courses and begin taking college courses, and the district is paying for those dual enrollment courses. So instead of a student graduating early, for most students makes more sense for them senior year to maybe they've got 1 or 2 classes at Dexter High School, and then they're taking classes at WCC. So, that's kind of an individual conversation and obviously based on your students, needs and college plans.
So there's one at the very top. I accidentally missed this one. Without honors English 9 or history, how are students prepared for AP IB level courses? How is this managed and what resources are available for them to provide them for the challenging courses? So Dexter High School courses are set up as college prep. All of the courses we offer that are the core are essentially built in to prepare them to take honors courses once they hit their junior year. Now, there are definitely exceptions to the rule, as Ms. Doyle had already alluded to, that if a student is really strong in science and they knocked out their biology their freshman year, they can get a teacher recommendation to potentially take AP Physics if that's what they would like to take their sophomore year. So we have limited AP courses that some sophomores can take so they can start maybe their sophomore year taking more advanced courses. But IB doesn't, you can't even start IB until junior year. So preparing them in the core classes, the courses and the curriculum that we have automatically prepares them for that next level course. And so those kids that thrive in English and they ace English their freshman year and sophomore year naturally would then look at AP language or IB English to take as junior year and then again senior year, because we do offer those higher level classes juniors and senior year. So the preparation is already within all the courses. They are set up to be pretty challenging, if you will. So if those students are being challenged, they should be challenged within the classrooms of the normal English 9 course or American history course.
So the other question is, do students have to take health or gym freshman year, or can they do it another year? They can absolutely, if they want to hold off. Sometimes I have, seniors who have waited until their senior year to take PE and health. So they just need to have it before they graduate. But typically a lot of freshmen just take them to kind of check them off their list freshman year, and when they have the space to do that and flexibility to do that, but it's not a requirement.
So someone is concerned about being last in the scheduling queue and maybe not having enough electives for us to place them in appropriate classes. And we are working with administration to make sure we have enough electives. And that's where these requests are so very important for us to have all of you guys finish these and submit them so that we can build the appropriate master schedule.
Right. And this year was our first year moving to a block schedule. So of course, things were not ideal. We, definitely had some kinks, and we're hoping by next year, we'll have more electives in place, more selections. So we do realize that was not ideal this year, and are working towards making that better for the upcoming years. Okay.
And that concludes our question and answer.
All right. Well, thank you so much, parents. And once again, please remember that there are many, many resources on Zello. We have all the links to the course descriptions, the graduation requirements. You can pretty much probably find what you're looking for on that Zello links and resource page. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Take care.
attending.
Thank you.